Good morning, dear students. Welcome back to this session of English. And today we are going to complete this chapter with the concluding fifth part. Before I move on to the fifth part, as usual, quick feedback of first, second, third, and the fourth part. In the first part, we people have seen introduction about the Tiger King, the Maharaja of Pratibandhapuram, his birth, related prophecy by the astrologers, the manner of his death being predicted by them, that he will die because of a tiger, and then the little 10 days old infant baby prince behavior. Then in the second, we people have seen the way how this child, the infant, the prince, he grew up. He grew up as usual, like all the other crown prince of those days. He was looked after by an English nanny, tutored by the Englishman. So we could see very clearly the influence of English in his life. When he became the Maharaja of his kingdom, then slowly, the rumor reached to his ears about his death, the predicted one by the astrologers. To prove them wrong, he set out on a tiger hunt, and he was extremely thrilled when he killed the first tiger and he showed the dead body of the tiger to the state astrologer. The state astrologer said, in the same manner, he will succeed in killing 99 tigers, but he must beware of the 100th one. To this, the Maharaja, he promised that he will succeed in killing all the 100 tigers, and the astrologer, he said, if his prophecy is proved false, he will cut off his hairs, he'll cut off his tuft, and he will change his profession. In the third part, we people came across the very famous ring episode, about which I have told you that question often comes in the board examination. In this third part, we people have seen about how the Maharaja took a vow and was completely focused on killing the tally of 100. Even he decided to attend the royal affairs after he has completed his tally. And then reached the ring episode, where he was on the verge of losing his kingdom because he declined permission to be given to a high-ranking British officer to hunt a tiger in the Pratibandhapuram forest. He and his Diwan then, with consultation, reached to a conclusion that they will offer 50 beautiful latest design diamond rings from Calcutta British jeweler shop to the good lady, the wife of the British officer. As a result, they thought she'll keep a few and return the rest, but lady, being a lady, kept all the 50 rings and sent a thank you note. He lost around 3 lakh of rupees, but he was happy that he succeeded in maintaining the kingdom to be with him. In the fourth part, we came across the fact that the Maharaja, he continued tiger hunting, and at one particular stage, he had to stop, or it came to a standstill, and the obstacle was this, that the population of tiger became extinct in the jungle of Pratibandhapuram. It's natural. And then lots of comic situations have been raised up over here in this part. One such day, when the Maharaja, he was cleaning his gun, he called the Diwan Sahib and he said to the Diwan Sahib that whether he has forgotten that the count of 30 is still left. The Diwan, he got frightened seeing the Maharaja cleaning the gun, and he said, I'm not a tiger. To that, Maharaja laughed and he said that I have called you not to tell about that, but to one fact, that I want to get married. To that, Diwan replied in a very comic manner, which brought Maharaja to laugh out loud. And then he said to the Diwan that he plans to marry a girl, definitely from a human species, and that too from a royal family from the nearby state who possess a huge population of tiger in their forest. At last, Diwan succeeded in finding out one such girl, and after finding the right girl, Maharaja got married, and whenever he used to visit his father-in-law's place, he used to kill 5 to 6 tigers. In this way, his count reached to 99. Now left is one tiger for the tally of 100 to complete. So let's move on to the fifth and the last part of this story. Part 5. The Maharaja's anxiety reached a fever pitch when there remained just one tiger to achieve his tally of 100. He had this one thought during the day and the same dream at night. By this time, the tiger farms had run dry even in his father-in-law's kingdom. It became impossible to locate tigers anywhere, yet only one more was needed. If he could kill just that one single beast, the Maharaja would have no fears left. He could give up tiger hunting altogether. Okay, my dear students, here one phrase has been used, fever pitch. It is very natural in humans that when you are targeted, focused for something, and you're just a step away from that, this one focused aim becomes somewhere the part and parcel of your life. You dream of it, and also your night is occupied with its dream. The Maharaja suffered the same, just one tiger away from his tally of 100. It was like his anxiety has picked up a high pitch it has reached, and he don't know what to do, because now there were not even a single tiger left in his father-in-law's kingdom also. It became totally impossible to get a tiger anywhere. Only one was needed, and after killing that one single beast, the Maharaja could have a peaceful sleep, and he decided to totally quit tiger hunting forever. Let's continue. But he had to be extremely careful with that last tiger. What had the late chief astrologer said? Even after killing 99 tigers, the Maharaja should beware of the 100th. True enough, the tiger was a savage beast after all. One had to be wary of it. But where was that 100th tiger to be found? It seemed easier to find tiger's milk than a live tiger. Okay, one tiger left, but that is the 100th tiger. Students, do you remember what that astrologer said to the Maharaja in that second part? He said very clearly in a soft, humble, drawling tone to the Maharaja that, Maharaja, in this way you will kill 99 tigers, but you have to be beware of the 100th one. So, that was what the late chief astrologer said. And it's very true also. Tiger we are talking about. We are not talking about a rabbit. Tiger is a savage beast, and definitely one must be frightened of it, wary of it. But the question was, where was that 100th tiger? Where to find it? And then it looked like as if though they could find tiger's milk, but live tiger? Impossible. Thus, the Maharaja was sunk in gloom. But soon came the happy news which dispelled that gloom. In his own state, sheep began to disappear frequently from a hillside village. It was first ascertained that this was not the work of Kader Mian Sahib or Veerasamy Naik, both famed for their ability to swallow sheep whole. Surely a tiger was at work. The villagers ran to inform the Maharaja. The Maharaja announced a 3-year exemption from all taxes for that village and set out on the hunt at once. Okay, the Maharaja, obviously, if you also don't get what you are searching, you are at the last step, just about to finish. Obviously, you'll feel sad. Our dear Maharaja also sunk in gloomness. He became very sad. But then suddenly, one happy news came, and it dispelled, it cleared all that gloominess. You know what happened? In his own state, means in his own kingdom, suddenly, from some village which was situated in a hillside, the sheep began to disappear. Now you will think, what is great news in that? See, when the sheep began to disappear, first of all, the villagers, they wanted to make sure the reason behind the disappearance of the sheep. The problem was, in that village, 2 people lived, 2 of them. One was Kader Mian Sahib and another fellow, Veerasamy Naik. And these both were very famous that they can eat an entire sheep. So because of that reason, they thought that first let them find out whether these 2 people are responsible for that. And when they were very sure that it was not them, so obviously they reached to the conclusion that it's a tiger. And tiger was what Maharaja was looking out for. So the villagers ran to the Maharaja to disclose this beautiful news, happy news for him. And the Maharaja, he became so happy that he exempted this village from all kind of taxes for the coming 3 years. And then he set out for the hunting at once. Let's continue. The tiger was not easily found. It seemed as if it had wantonly hid itself in order to flout the Maharaja's will. The tiger seems to have a hide and seek game with the Maharaja. And it looked like as if though he seems to be little indisciplined, wantonly. And he hid himself somewhere in order to show that what is Maharaja's will to kill that tiger. And the tiger says, I'm not going to follow it. I'm not going to listen to Maharaja's will, to his desire. Then further, the Maharaja was equally determined. He refused to leave the forest until the tiger was found. As the days passed, the Maharaja's fury and obstinacy mounted alarmingly. Many officers lost their jobs. Okay, that one tiger about whom the villagers informed, he seems to be very indisciplined type of a tiger, not listening to the Maharaja, not coming front of him. But then Maharaja is also not less, very firm in his decision. He refused to leave the forest till he find that tiger and kill him. Days passed. With the passage of the days and the tiger not found, you know what was the result? The Maharaja's anger, fury and obstinance, stubbornness was going on increasing like anything. The result of it, many officers of the Maharaja, they lost their jobs. Generally, this is what happens with the subordinates. Further, one day when his rage was at its height, the Maharaja called the Diwan and ordered him to double the land tax forthwith. This is how generally the people in power behave, I think so. When the villagers came and said to him about the tiger's presence in the village, Maharaja was very happy and he declared exemption of any kind of taxes for 3 years. And when he could not find the tiger in the jungle and his rage, his anger has raised up, has increased to a great height, the Maharaja, he called the Diwan and he asked him to, without delay, forthwith, means without any delay, double the land tax of the village people, the poor villagers. They became the victim of Maharaja's anger, his frustration. Then the Diwan. The people will become discontented, then our state too will fall a prey to the Indian National Congress. In that case, you may resign from your post, said the king. Diwan was supposed to talk for the welfare of the kingdom. So when the Maharaja said that you double the land tax, he said, see Maharaja, if you double the land tax, the people will be discontented, they will be unhappy. And then our state, means your kingdom, will become an easy prey for the Indian National Congress. See, in those times, these kings, jamindars and all who used to rule and create a lot of trouble, used to suppress them with their power, Indian National Congress used to raise these topics and used to try to release them from the clutches of such people. So when he tried to make Maharaja understand the situation, you know what the king said? He said, if you can't handle, do one thing, you resign from your post. This is what he said to the Diwan. Okay, now let's see what happened next. The Diwan went home convinced that if the Maharaja did not find the tiger soon, the results could be catastrophic. He felt life returning to him only when he saw the tiger which had been brought back from the People's Park in Madras and kept hidden in his house. Okay, a surprise package. The Diwan, after he has heard that from Maharaja that you can resign from the job, from the post, he went home totally convinced that Maharaja has gone mad. And if he don't get his tiger, you remember now which number? The 100th tiger. Then the result of that is going to be very dangerous, fatal, it will be catastrophic. He felt when he reached home, after reaching home, something he saw which brought back life to him. You know what he saw? I said a surprise package. He saw a tiger in a cage. No. From where this tiger came? This tiger he has brought from the People's Park in Madras and kept hidden in his house. Clever fellow. He knew it very well that this kind of situation can arise and he was already ready to tackle that. And because of that reason, this tiger had been brought from the People's Park from Madras and it was kept hidden in his house. Now what this Diwan is going to do? Let's see. At midnight, when the town slept in peace, the Diwan and his aged wife dragged the tiger to the car and shoved it into the seat. The Diwan himself drove the car straight to the forest where the Maharaja was hunting. When they reached the forest, the tiger launched its satyagraha and refused to get out of the car. The Diwan was thoroughly exhausted in his efforts to haul the beast out of the car and push it down to the ground. Okay, so this was his plan. In the midnight, when the entire town slept off in peace, nobody knew what's going on in the head of the Maharaja and what could be the result of it. At that time, the Diwan and his aged wife, turning bolt, they dragged the tiger to the car and pushed him into the seat. Wow, what a scene, no? Bringing the tiger and pushing him into the car seat. Then the Diwan himself drove the car straight to that jungle where the Maharaja was camping for hunting. When these two reached over there and they reached to the forest, suddenly the tiger, he launched its satyagraha. You understood what I mean? They reached the jungle, the same forest where the Maharaja was. And after reaching the jungle, they wanted to bring the tiger out of the car. टाइगर, मैं नहीं निकलूंगा, मैं निकलूंगा ही नहीं. And then, total refusal. What to do? Poor old Diwan and his wife. The Diwan was totally exhausted like anything. He put his entire effort to push, forcefully howl the beast here is the tiger, out of the car and pushed him down to the ground. All this was done by Diwan for the welfare of the country and for quenching the thirst of the Maharaja regarding the 100th tiger. Let's see further what happened. On the following day, the same old tiger wandered into the Maharaja's presence and stood as if in humble supplication. Master, what do you command of me? It was with boundless joy that the Maharaja took careful aim at the beast. The tiger fell in a crumpled heap. Okay, the next morning, this tiger was little old, huh? Not little old, it was old. And this old tiger, wandering by chance, reached front of the Maharaja. And he stood in humble supplication. Means he tied up his hand, how we people say, na, tying up the hand and bowing the head down, asking, what you want to do with me, please do. In the same way, this tiger also, he stood front of the Maharaja as if though saying, Master, what do you command of me? What do you want to do with me? Just command me. And seeing the tiger, Maharaja was filled with joy. He took a careful aim at the beast and he shot the beast. The tiger felt like a crumpled heap. Boom! He fell down. And then, happy Maharaja. Let's see. I have killed the 100th tiger. My woe has been fulfilled. The Maharaja was overcome with elation. Ordering the tiger to be brought to the capital in grand procession, the Maharaja hastened away in his car. Okay. When you aim at something and if it is fulfilled, obviously joy is no bound. Here also he was overcome with happiness, elation. He said, I have killed the 100th tiger, I have fulfilled my vow. And then he said to the co-hunters who came along with him that do one thing, bring the tiger in a grand procession to the capital of our place. And then the Maharaja went away in the car. Okay. The 100th tiger killed, the Maharaja happy. Maharaja went away in his car, asked the co-hunters to bring the tiger's dead body. Actually, what happened, we have to see that. After the Maharaja left, the hunters went to take a closer look at the tiger. And see what happened. The tiger looked back at them, rolling its eyes in bafflement. The men realized that the tiger was not dead. The bullet had missed it. It had fainted from the shock of the bullet whizzing past. The hunters wondered what they should do. They decided that the Maharaja must not come to know that he had missed his target. If he did, they could lose their jobs. One of the hunters took aim from a distance of 1 foot and shot the tiger. This time, he killed it without missing his mark. Okay, wow. So this is what has happened. After the Maharaja has given the order to bring the dead body, the hunters went to have a closer look of the tiger. Obviously, they have to carry the body. At that time, our dear tiger, he opened his eyes and started rolling it. What a situation. And the men immediately realized that the tiger was not dead. Please pay attention. Again, I'm saying the tiger was not dead. The 100th tiger whom the Maharaja was supposed to kill got saved because the bullet has missed its mark. And why the tiger fell down as a heap? Because when the bullet missed its mark and passed by him, out of fear, he fainted. My dear students, do you remember yours that Mrs. Packletite's tiger? Yeah, the same way. Now the hunters, they started wondering what they should do. Whether they should inform the Maharaja that he has missed his target. But then, chances are there that they might lose their job, and nobody wanted to lose the job or maybe their life. So one of the hunter moved a distance of 1 foot, took the aim and shot the tiger. And this time, without missing the mark, the tiger got killed. Remember what I said? The hunter moved a foot back, took the aim and killed the tiger. Remember, the 100th tiger. Remember what the astrologer said. Let's continue further. Then, as commanded by the king, the dead tiger was taken in procession through the town and buried. A tomb was erected over it. Wow, what respect. The king has said that bring the body. So, in a very grand procession, the body of the tiger was brought to the town, it was buried, and a tomb was constructed over it. A few days later, the Maharaja's son's third birthday was celebrated. Until then, the Maharaja had given his entire mind over to tiger hunting. He had no time to spare for the crown prince. But now the king turned his attention to the child. He wished to give him some special gift on his birthday. He went to the shopping center in Pratibandhapuram and searched every shop, but couldn't find anything suitable. Finally, he spotted a wooden tiger in a toy shop and decided it was the perfect gift. Okay, now after this all incident took place, a few days later, the Maharaja's son's third birthday was celebrated. Oh, the prince's birthday. Till now, Maharaja was only focused with one thing in his life. Tiger hunting, tiger hunting, tiger hunting. 100 tigers, 100 tigers, 100 tigers. And he never had the time to spare for his crown prince. So this time he decided that I'm going to pay my full attention to the child, and he wished to give him something very special. He went to the shopping center but could find nothing. He searched every shop. Then finally, he reached to a toy shop and he spotted a wooden tiger and thought of it to be the perfect gift. See, when you are after a thing for a long time, means your entire life is focused on it. It becomes a kind of an obsession for you. Your day and night is overpowered by it. For days, for years, he had been hunting tigers. So there was only one thing: hunting tigers, hunting tigers, hunting tigers. So even when he went out to search a gift for his son, what he liked at the last, after searching the entire shopping center, a wooden toy tiger. Now the wooden toy tiger. The wooden tiger cost only 2 annas and a quarter. But the shopkeeper knew that if he quoted such a low price to the Maharaja, he would be punished under the rules of the emergency. Uh-oh. So he said, Your Majesty, this is an extremely rare example of craftsmanship. A bargain at 300 rupees. The wooden tiger, in those days it was annas and all. It was not like ours currency of the present time. And that wooden tiger's cost was 2 annas and a quarter. But it was too low, very cheap. And the shopkeeper cannot quote that amount for that wooden tiger to the Maharaja. Otherwise, he will be caught and put in jail under emergency rule. So he said to the Maharaja that, Maharaja, this wooden tiger, perfect piece of craftsmanship. Very excellent piece. And just 300 rupees. Just 300 rupees. To that, let's see what our Maharaja wants to say. Very good. Let this be your offering to the crown prince on his birthday, said the king, and took it away with him. On that day, father and son played with that tiny little wooden tiger. It had been carved by an unskilled carpenter. Its surface was rough. Tiny slivers of wood stood up like quills all over it. One of those slivers pierced the Maharaja's right hand. He pulled it out with his left hand and continued to play with the prince. Okay, as we can see here, the shopkeeper, to maintain the dignity of the Maharaja, he quoted the price of that wooden tiger as 300 rupees. To that, our dear Maharaja, he didn't give him that 300 rupees. What he said, He said, okay, let this be an offering from your side to the prince on his birthday. And he took the toy tiger and went back home to his palace. That day, he and his son played with that tiny little wooden tiger. Now this tiger, you remember what the shopkeeper said? An excellent piece of craftsmanship. Means behatareen kalakari ka namuna. But what actual was the reason? It has been carved by an unskilled carpenter. Means a person, a carpenter who don't know to work. The surface of that wooden toy tiger was very rough. If you have ever seen, you might have seen that if the surface of a wooden object is not scrubbed properly, it's not been rubbed properly, small pieces of wood comes out from it. Exactly like kiwi. Have you seen? Exactly like quills. And then while playing, one such sliver, it poked the Maharaja's right hand. It's natural, no? Even for us also same thing. When like this kind of wooden piece, small piece get into our finger, with the other we people will pull it out and will continue with our work. Maharaj also did the same thing. With the left hand, he pulled out that sliver and he continued playing with the child. The next day, infection flared in the Maharaja's right hand. In 4 days, it developed into a suppurating sore which spread all over the arm. See, one sliver pierced his right hand. He paid no attention, took it out with the left hand, and the very next day, the following day, the infection spread over Maharaja's right hand. And in 4 days, that infection turned into a suppurating sore, pus we people call, and it spread all over his arm. 3 famous surgeons were brought in from Madras. After holding a consultation, they decided to operate. The operation took place. The 3 surgeons who performed it came out of the theatre and announced, the operation was successful, the Maharaja is dead. You heard what I said? The operation was successful, the Maharaja is dead. Odd, no? I'll come to that. In this manner, the 100th tiger took its final revenge upon the Tiger King. When his wound, it turned into a pus, 3 surgeons, very famous surgeons, were called from Madras, and they had meeting, and they decided they have to operate. See why they were called? They were called to get the right hand of the Maharaja all right, which was filled with pus. So they decided that they will do an operation. Operation was performed. The 3 surgeons came out from the theatre and they announced the operation was successful. True, operation was of what? To remove the sore, remove the pus. It was successful, but the Maharaja is dead. Operation is successful, but the Maharaja is dead. He is dead. In this manner, the 100th tiger prophecy. The astrologer said, you may kill 99 tigers, but beware of the 100th tiger. The Maharaja went to kill the tiger. He shot, missed his mark, and the 100th tiger, the live tiger, was killed by his co-hunter, not by the Maharaja. And at the end of the story, the irony is that the 100th tiger killed him, as it was said. But it was a toy tiger, not a live tiger. My dear students, this is what is being shown over here. That people who are in power, they think that they can do anything. We humans, for our own selfish motives, we go to the extent of killing speechless animals, innocent animals. And then we people have also seen that how the minions, the ministers, diwan, the co-hunters, the officers, how and the way how they behave, whether any sincerity is there or only flattery. These are some of the things which have been shown over here in this beautiful story, The Tiger King. I would like you people to attend each and every class so that you don't miss any of the part of the lesson. My dear students, it's a time when we both, you people as students and we as teachers, have to come together to cover up the portions. So it's my humble request once again to each and every one of you to go through all the videos being prepared by your teachers. So take care till we meet for the next session with again a new chapter. Till then, goodbye, stay home, stay safe.